The water lapped against the pool's edge like a secret being whispered. But it was her hand on my wrist that stopped my breath, pulling me from the dive I never took. Sienna's voice cut through the chlorine-scented air, low and laced with something sharper than surprise. "You're not supposed to be out here alone, Scarlett," and in that moment, under the relentless California sun, I realized the night ahead would unravel us both. Alex's laughter echoed from inside the house, oblivious, while her mother's gaze held mine captive, a current pulling me under before the party even began. I had always loved Alex's house in that sprawling, sun-baked corner of Pasadena, where the palm trees swayed like lazy sentinels over manicured lawns and the air hummed with the distant roar of the 210 freeway. It was the kind of place that screamed old money filtered through new California dreams, with its terracotta tiles and floor-to-ceiling windows that framed the San Gabriel Mountains like a postcard. Alex and I had been inseparable since freshman year at Caltech, bonded over late-night cram sessions and shared disdain for the boys who thought quantum mechanics made them irresistible. She was the chaotic genius to my steady hand, the one who dragged me to rooftop parties in Echo Park while I lured her into quiet hikes up in the Angeles National Forest. That summer, post-graduation haze settling in like fog off the Pacific, her invitation to the backyard bash felt like a lifeline, a chance to shake off the uncertainty clawing at my chest. I arrived early, as always, slipping through the side gate with a bottle of cheap rose clutched in one hand and my sketchbook tucked under my arm. The pool shimmered under the midday glare, a rectangle of turquoise that promised escape from the 90-degree heat. Alex was inside, orchestrating chaos with her siblings, yelling about the playlist and the charcuterie spread her dad had overdone again. I kicked off my sandals, toes curling against the warm concrete, and let the water call to me. It was impulsive, that dip, but the sun beat down like it had a grudge, and my white sundress, thin cotton dotted with faint wildflower prints, stuck to my skin in places I wished it wouldn't. I waded in up to my thighs, the coolness shocking my system, chasing away the knot of anxiety that had been building since my last gallery rejection email pinged my inbox 2 days prior. That's when she appeared. Sienna. Alex's mom. I had met her a dozen times over the years, always in passing, her presence like a cool breeze cutting through the family's boisterous energy. She was the quiet force behind the scenes, the one who owned that sleek art space in old Pasadena, the kind of gallery where abstract sculptures whispered fortunes to the elite. Mid-40s, but she carried it like a secret weapon, her olive skin glowing from weekends in Big Sur, her black hair sliced into a bob that framed her face with architectural precision. Hazel eyes that could pin you from across a room, cheekbones sharp enough to cut glass. She moved like she owned the light, in that linen blouse the color of desert sand, sleeves rolled to her elbows, revealing forearms toned from hauling canvases and chasing sunsets. She paused at the lounge chairs, a stack of towels balanced on one hip, her gaze landing on me with the weight of an unfinished sentence. "Scarlett," she said, voice smooth as aged bourbon, setting the towels down with deliberate care. "You're early. Alex will be thrilled." But there was no thrill in her tone, only that undercurrent, the one that made my pulse stutter. I straightened, water dripping from the hem of my dress, suddenly aware of how the fabric clung, translucent in patches, outlining the curve of my hip, the dip of my collarbone. Heat flushed my cheeks. "Not from the sun. Just needed to cool off," I replied, forcing a laugh that came out too bright, too forced. I waded deeper, submerging to my waist, as if the water could hide the way her eyes lingered, tracing the line of my shoulder where a stray auburn curl plastered wet against my skin. She didn't move, just watched, arms crossed loosely, the gold bracelet on her wrist catching the light. It was a stare that peeled back layers, seeing the artist in me before I even spoke, the one who poured doubt into charcoal sketches late at night in my cramped Silver Lake apartment. The party swelled around us as the afternoon wore on. Guests trickled in, neighbors with their artisanal IPAs and tech bros from Alex's internship circle, all clustering under the pergola strung with Edison bulbs that hadn't yet flickered to life. Laughter bounced off the stucco walls, mingled with the sizzle of burgers on the grill where Alex's dad, Mark, held court with stories from his venture capital days. I played my part, the easygoing best friend, clinking glasses with Alex as she recounted her latest algorithm breakthrough. Her energy infectious, pulling me into dances that left us breathless and giggling. But every so often, I'd catch Sienna's eye across the yard. Her pouring wine for the book club ladies. Her smile polite but her gaze a tether, yanking me back. By dusk, the sky bruised purple over the mountains, and the pool lights hummed to life, casting ethereal glows that turned the water to liquid sapphire. Alex had vanished into a heated debate with her cousin about AI ethics, leaving me to drift toward the edge of the gathering, sketchbook forgotten on a chair. The rose had softened the edges of the day, a pleasant buzz humming in my veins, but it couldn't dull the awareness prickling my skin. I slipped back to the pool, needing that quiet again, the lap of water against tile like a heartbeat I could control. My dress, now dry but rumpled, swished against my thighs as I sat on the edge, feet dangling, staring at the reflections dancing below. Footsteps, soft on the concrete, announced her before words did. "Mind if I join you?" Sienna's voice wrapped around me, low and intimate, like we were the only two souls in the universe. She settled beside me, close enough that the heat from her body mingled with the cooling evening air, her shorts riding up slightly to reveal the smooth expanse of her thigh. Up close, without the buffer of party noise, she smelled like jasmine and something earthier, clay from her studio perhaps. "Not at all," I murmured, heart thudding against my ribs. Our shoulders brushed as she dipped her toes in, and the contact sent a spark racing up my arm, electric and forbidden. We sat in silence for a stretch, the kind that stretched taut, filled with the chirp of crickets and the distant hum of the city waking to night. Then she spoke, turning her head so her profile silhouetted against the twilight. "Alex says you're the one who sees the world differently. That your drawings capture what words can't." I swallowed, glancing at her, our eyes meeting in the half-light. "She exaggerates. I just notice things. The way light fractures on water, or how someone's hands tell their story before their mouth does." My voice dipped on the last part, eyes flicking to her fingers, long and elegant, nails short and unpainted, a faint smudge of paint lingering on one knuckle. She followed my gaze, flexing her hand with a soft chuckle that vibrated through me. "Guilty. Spent the morning with a new piece. Some abstract on loss. It's messy. Like life." Her words hung there, heavy with subtext, and I wondered if she meant the divorce whispers I'd overheard from Alex months back. The quiet unraveling of her marriage to Mark after 20 years. He was still around, still grilling burgers like nothing had shifted, but the air in the house carried the echo of slammed doors and unspoken resentments. "Messy can be beautiful," I said, emboldened by the wine, by the way her knee nudged mine under the water. "It's the cracks that let the light in." Her laugh was genuine this time, turning her body toward me, hazel eyes catching the pool lights like flecks of gold. "Poetic. Scarlet. You should come by the gallery sometime. I could use a fresh eye." The invitation landed soft, but it stirred something deep, a flutter low in my belly that had nothing to do with friendship and everything to do with the curve of her lips. The way her blouse gaped just enough to reveal the hollow of her throat. Before I could respond, Alex's voice shattered the bubble, calling from the house. "Scar. Mom. Shots in the kitchen. Stat." We both startled, pulling apart like teenagers caught. But Sienna's hand lingered on my arm a beat too long, thumb brushing my skin in a gesture that felt like a promise. The night twisted from there, the party devolving into a haze of Jell-O shots and impromptu karaoke under the stars. I lost track of time, of boundaries, dancing with Alex until my feet ached, stealing glances at Sienna as she mingled, her laughter freer with each glass. It was past midnight when the crowd thinned, guests stumbling to Ubers, leaving the backyard littered with red Solo cups and the faint scent of sunscreen and smoke from the fire pit. Alex crashed early, claiming a headache, pulling me into a sloppy hug before disappearing upstairs. "Stay the night," she mumbled. "Guest room's empty." I intended to. Curling up on the chaise by the pool with a throw blanket, the stars a blanket of their own overhead. But sleep evaded me, the wine turning restless, thoughts circling back to that touch, that gaze. The house quieted, lights dimming, until footsteps pulled me upright. Sienna. Silhouette framed by the kitchen door. A robe cinched loose over her pajamas. Hair tousled from the wind. Couldn't sleep, she asked. Patting over. Glass of water in hand. Too much on my mind, I admitted. Sitting up. The blanket pooling in my lap. She sat on the chaise opposite. Close enough to share warmth. The pool lights painting blue streaks across her face. Tell me. It wasn't a question. More an invitation. Her voice threading through the dark like silk. And so I did. Words spilling out in the confessional hush of night, the fear of my art never amounting to more than sketches in a drawer. The loneliness of a city that swallowed dreams whole. The ache of wanting connections that felt real. Raw. She listened. Really listened. Her eyes never leaving mine. Nodding in the way that said she knew those shadows intimately. Her own story emerged in fragments. The gallery born from a need to create after years of curating someone else's life. The divorce a slow fracture that left her questioning if love was just another canvas to abandon. Hours passed. The conversation weaving deeper. Touches accidental at first. Then deliberate. Her hand on my knee as she leaned in to emphasize a point. Mine tracing the edge of her robe when laughter bubbled up. The air thickened. Charged with the unsaid. Until her breath caught. Fingers lifting to brush a curl from my forehead. Scarlet, she whispered. Name a caress. And the world narrowed to the space between us. Our lips met tentative. A brush that ignited. Her mouth soft and tasting of mint and regret. My hands found her waist. Pulling her closer. The robe slipping open to reveal the tank top beneath. Thin straps against smooth skin. She sighed into the kiss. A sound that undid me. Her fingers threading through my hair as the night swallowed our hesitations. We moved like a storm building. Her body arching under my touch. The chaise creaking softly as I trailed kisses down her neck. Eliciting gasps that echoed in the quiet yard. It was passion born of pent-up longing. Frantic yet tender. Her hands exploring the lines of my body with an artist's precision. Mapping freckles and curves as if committing them to memory. We tumbled together. Whispers mingling with the pool's gentle lap. The stars indifferent witnesses. In that tangle of limbs and heartbeats. I felt seen. Truly. For the first time in years. But dawn crept in too soon. Gray light filtering through the palms. And with it? Reality. Sienna pulled back first. Eyes shadowed. Robe clutched tight. This. We can't. The words landed like a slap. Though her voice cracked on them. Alex. Mark. Everything. I nodded. Throat tight. Dressing the silence with a forced smile. I know. But as she slipped away. Leaving me alone with the cooling air. The twist tightened in my chest. The night not over but just beginning its unraveling. The days blurred after that night. A fever dream I replayed in stolen moments. The gallery of my mind hung with snapshots, the salt of her skin. The curve of her sigh. The way her eyes darkened when I whispered her name. Pasadena felt smaller. The distance between my Silver Lake walk-up and Alex sprawling ranch-style alive with possibility and peril. I buried myself in work. Charcoal smudging my fingers black as I sketched feverishly. Bodies entwined in abstract forms that echoed our stolen hours. But the buzz of my phone would jolt me. Alex texts popping up with invites to coffee runs or beach days in Malibu. Each one a reminder of the line we'd crossed. The secret now lodged like a thorn. Sienna kept her distance at first. Her texts curt and professional, gallery opening next Thursday. Stop by if you're free. No mention of the chaise. The kisses that lingered like smoke. I went anyway. Drawn like a moth. Navigating the polished crowd in old Pasadena. Where fairy lights strung across Colorado Boulevard twinkled against the evening chill. The space was her, minimalist white walls punctuated by bold installations. A massive kinetic sculpture of mirrored shards twisting in the AC draft. Reflecting fragmented faces back at the viewers. I wore jeans that hugged my legs. A cropped black tee that bared a sliver of midriff. Auburn hair loose and wild. A shield against vulnerability. She found me by the wine table. Her black dress sheath-like. Hugging her frame with elegant severity. Heels clicking soft on the concrete floor. You came. Relief flickered in her hazel eyes. Quickly masked by a sip of Chardonnay. Wouldn't miss it. Our conversation danced around the edges. Art as safe harbor, Her praising a local sculptor's use of recycled ocean plastic. Me dissecting the emotional undercurrents in a series of oil portraits that stripped subjects bare. But the air crackled. Unspoken words pulling us toward a back storage room when the curator called her away. We slipped inside. Door clicking shut. Surrounded by stacked canvases and the faint scent of turpentine. "I haven't stopped thinking," she started. Back against a shelf. Fingers twisting the stem of her glass. "Neither have I." I stepped closer. Heart hammering. Closing the gap until our breath synced. This kiss was slower. Deliberate. Her hands framing my face as if I were a fragile piece. Thumbs tracing my jaw. We pressed against the wall. Her legs slipping between mine. Friction building like a crescendo. Gasps muffled against collarbones and earlobes. It was riskier here. Voices murmuring beyond the door. But that only heightened it. Her nails digging into my hips as I arched into her touch. Whispering pleas that dissolved into moans. We emerged flushed. Composed. But the night lingered in flushed cheeks and stolen glances. After that, the pull became gravitational. Late-night texts evolved into meetups, a hike in the Hollywood Hills where we shared a thermos of coffee. Hands brushing on the trail until we collapsed against an oak. Kissing until our lips bruised. A rainy afternoon in her studio. Me posing nude on a drop cloth while she sketched. Her eyes devouring more than lines. Leading to hours tangled on the floor. Paint streaking our skin like war paint. Sienna opened up in fragments. Her life a mosaic of quiet triumphs and hidden fractures. Born in the valley to Mexican-American parents who ran a taqueria in Van Nuys. She'd clawed her way to art school on scholarships. Marrying Mark Young in a whirlwind of shared ambitions. He was steady. The tech was who funded her dreams. But stability curdled into routine. His late nights at the office mirroring her growing detachment. The divorce, finalized 6 months prior, left her adrift. Co-parenting Alex and her brother with polite texts and joint custody weekends. "I thought love was enough," she confessed one evening over takeout Thai in my apartment. Cross-legged on my thrift store rug. The city lights painting stripes through the blinds. "But it fades if you don't tend it." I traced patterns on her palm. My own scars laid bare, growing up in a sleepy suburb outside Sacramento. Single mom juggling nursing shifts. Me the queer kid hiding crushes on the girls' swim team captain. Art was my exhale. But rejection letters piled like unanswered prayers. Leaving me 24 and questioning if I was chasing shadows. With Sienna, though, I felt anchored. Her belief in my work a bomb. "Show me your sketches," she'd say. Pulling me onto her couch in the guest house she'd converted post-separation. A cozy annex behind the main house. We'd pore over pages. Her critiques sharp but kind. Evolving into caresses. Nights where we'd make love by candlelight. Her body a landscape I mapped with lips and fingers. Learning the rhythm of her pleasure like a favorite song. Alex noticed nothing at first. Her world a whirlwind of job hunts and dating apps. Confiding in me over brunches at Skirl about her latest ghosting disaster. "You're glowing." "Scar," she'd say. Avocado toast halfway to her mouth. "New guy?" I'd deflect with laughs. Guilt gnawing like acid. But the high of Sienna drowned it out. We carved out stolen pockets, quick coffees in anonymous Silver Lake cafes. Where she'd slide her foot along my calf under the table, drives up the coast to Santa Barbara. Windows down. Her hand on my thigh as we sang off-key to Fleetwood Mac. But cracks spiderwebbed. Mark lingered. His presence at family dinners a ghost. His eyes narrowing when Sienna and I chatted too long. Alex started dropping hints. "Mom seems happier lately. Therapy working wonders." And then the texts from Sienna grew erratic. Laced with hesitation, "Can't tonight. Alex needs me." Followed by apologies. Flowers delivered to my door with notes in her looping script, "Forgive the chaos. You steady me." The conflict crested on a sweltering August evening. Alex's birthday bash spilling into the backyard again. The pool a mirror for fairy lights and laughter. I arrived fashionably late. In a slip dress the color of ripe peaches. Hair pinned loose. Nerves jangling. Sienna was radiant in emerald silk. Playing hostess with effortless grace. But her smile for me was strained. Eyes darting to Mark across the grill. We stole a moment in the pantry. Her pinning me against shelves of spices. Kiss desperate. Her whispering. I miss you, before pulling away at the sound of footsteps. Later, as the party wound down, Alex pulled me aside by the fire pit. Her buzzed from cake and craft beer. Hey. What's up with you and Mom? You've been weirdly in sync. My stomach dropped. Words tangling. But she waved it off with a grin. Kidding. Just. She's fragile. You know? Don't break her. I nodded. Throat dry. Retreating to the pool house for air. Sienna followed minutes later. Door latching soft behind her. Alex said something? Panic edged her voice. Just joking. But the seed was planted. Doubt blooming. We fell into each other anyway. Urgency masking fear. Her hands urgent on my dress straps. Sliding them down as I backed her toward the daybed. It was fervent. Clothes shed in a trail. Her mouth hot on my breast. Drawing cries I bit back against her shoulder. We moved together. Slick and synchronized. Climax crashing like waves. Leaving us spent and clinging. In the afterglow, she traced my spine. Voice muffled against my hair. This is dangerous. Scarlet. But I can't stop. I held her tighter. Ignoring the tremor in her words. The way the night air carried warnings on the breeze. The betrayal came swift. A knife in the dark. 2 weeks later. Mid-September. Golden hour painting the gallery in honeyed light. I arrived for our planned critique session. Arms full of new pieces. The door was ajar. Voices spilling out. And I froze on the threshold. Sienna. Laughing low. Her hand on Mark's arm as he leaned in. Their heads close over a catalog. We make a good team still, he said. And she didn't pull away. Her smile soft. Familiar. My sketches slipped. Scattering like leaves. The sound pulling their eyes to me. Sienna's face paled. Mark's brow furrowing in confusion. Scarlet? What are you? I couldn't breathe. The air thick with the scent of fresh varnish and lies. I thought. But words failed. Tears hot. And I bolted. The door slamming like a finality. She caught me in the alley. Rain starting to spit from unexpected clouds. Wait. It's not what you think. Her hand on my arm. But I jerked free. Chest heaving. Then what is it? You go back to him? Like him just a phase? The accusation hung. Raw and ragged. No. God. No. He's pushing for reconciliation. For Alex's sake. But I told him it's over. Her eyes pleaded. Rain streaking her makeup. Turning her fierce and fragile. I wanted to believe. To fold into her. But the hurt festered. I can't be the secret. Sienna. Not anymore. We stood there. Drenched and divided. The twist tightening into a knot that promised storm. The fallout hit like an earthquake. Aftershocks rippling through every corner of my life. I ghosted Alex first. Dodging her calls with excuses about a sudden freelance gig in San Diego. Holing up in my apartment where the walls closed in like judgmental eyes. Sketches piled up. But they turned dark. Jagged lines slashing across pages. Bodies fractured and alone. Sleep came in fits. Haunted by dreams of pools turning to ink. Sienna's face dissolving into Mark's shadow. The city, once a canvas of possibility, now mocked me with its relentless pulse, couples entwined on Abbot Kinney Boulevard. Laughter spilling from cafes where ID once imagined us. Sienna reached out relentlessly. Texts evolving from apologies to pleas. Then silence that screamed louder than words. I ended it with him. For good. Please. Talk to me. I read them in the dead of night. Thumb hovering over reply. But pride and pain locked my fingers. The betrayal wasn't just the moment in the gallery, it was the realization that she'd kept one foot in her old life. Hedging bets while I poured my soul into us. Humanistic as she was. Championing queer artists in her shows. Supporting Alex coming out years back with quiet pride. She'd faltered when it came to her own heart. Fear of appending the family facade winning out. Alex cornered me eventually. Showing up at my door with takeout from our favorite poke spot in Venice. Her eyes red-rimmed from what I suspected were her own discoveries. What the hell? Scar? You vanish? Mom moping like a ghost. Spill. We sat on my fire escape. The sunset bleeding orange over the rooftops. And the truth tumbled out in halting bursts, the pool night. The stolen months. The alleyway shatter. She listened. Face cycling through shock to fury to a weary understanding that aged her beyond her 23 years. Jesus. Mom? With you? A beat. Then? I mean. You're both. Incredible. But Dad? He's been circling like a vulture. Guilting her with family photos and holiday plans. Tears tracked her cheeks. Mixing with the soy sauce on her chin. She's terrified of losing US kids. But this? Hiding? It's not her. I nodded. The weight of it crushing. Our friendship fraying at the edges but holding. Stitched by years of shared secrets. I thought she chose me. The admission cracked open the emotional core. Vulnerability raw as flayed skin. She is now. Fighting him in mediation. Selling the house to cut ties. But she needs you to believe it. Alex's hand squeezed mine. A bridge over the chasm. I didn't go to her. Not yet. Instead, I dove into crisis. The kind that hollows you out for rebirth. A solo show opportunity arose. A small space in West Hollywood scouting emerging talents. And I channeled the turmoil into it, installations of shattered mirrors glued with gold leaf. Inspired by kintsugi. The Japanese art of mending brokenness. Canvases layered with translucent washes. Figures emerging from shadows. Eyes locked in defiant intimacy. Opening night loomed. A deadline that forced me upright. But anxiety gnawed. Whispers of not enough echoing from childhood bedrooms where my mom's encouragements couldn't drown the silence of my absent dad. Sienna appeared like fate. Uninvited but inevitable. Slipping through the crowd in a trench coat dusted with October rain. Her bob slicked back. Eyes scanning until they locked on me across the room. I was mid-conversation with a collector. Words drying up as she approached. The air parting for her quiet intensity. These are breathtaking, she said. Gesturing to the central piece. A diptych of two women reaching through fractured glass. Their hands almost touching. You've captured the ache so perfectly. Thanks. My voice was steel. Arms crossed over my black velvet dress. The one Shed once said made my eyes smolder. The crowd milled. Oblivious. But tension coiled between us. A live wire. Can we talk? Outside. Her plea was soft. Laced with the humanistic depth that had drawn me in. The woman who volunteered at shelters for queer youth. Who curated exhibits on identity with unflinching honesty. I led her to the alley behind the gallery. Same rain-slicked bricks as before. But now under a canopy of stars peeking through clouds. You hurt me, Sienna. Made me feel like a detour. She winced. Stepping closer. Rain beating on her lashes. I was scared. Of the mess? The judgment. Mark weaponized our history. But I see now, staying small dishonors us all. Her hand reached for mine. Tentative. And I let it. The warmth seeping through cold fingers. I choose you. Fully. No more shadows. The kiss that followed was saline with tears. Hers and mine. A reclamation under the drizzle. We pressed against the wall. Coats shed. Her fingers in my hair. My hands under her sweater. Tracing the familiar planes of her ribs. It was healing in motion. Urgent yet sacred. Rain mingling with sweat as we gasped promises into necks and wrists. Climax came shuddering. A release that washed away residue. Leaving us entwined on a crate. Breath sinking to the patter on pavement. But crisis wasn't done. Mark escalated. Showing up at the gallery the next week. Face thunderous. Alex's birthday card crumpled in his fist as evidence of Sienna's abandonment. You're poisoning her, he snarled at me over the phone later. Voice slurred from scotch. Alex sobbing in the background after Head cornered her for details. She's throwing away everything for some fling. It's not a fling. My retort was fierce. But doubt crept. The emotional toll mounting. Sienna spiraled. Nights of pacing her empty guest house. Therapy sessions spilling into voicemails. I feel like I'm failing everyone. Our love became a battlefield. Arguments flaring over texts about boundaries. Her pulling back when guilt surged. Me retreating into sketches that bled accusation. The climax shattered on a crisp November eve. All Saints' Day Eve. The air crisp with eucalyptus from the hills. Alex called in hysterics. Mark, drunk and desperate, had shown up at the family home. Pounding doors. Screaming about reconciliation or ruin. Sienna met him in the driveway. Voice steady but breaking. "It's over? Mark. Let go." He lunged. Not violent but unhinged. Grabbing her arm. Words venom, "You'll regret this." For her. For our daughter. I raced over. Tires screeching on wet leaves. Arriving to chaos, Alex restraining her dad. Sienna bruised in spirit if not body. Eyes hollow. "Get out," I yelled. Positioning between them. My small frame no match but fury a shield. Police came. Statements taken under streetlights. Mark led away in cuffs. Muttering defeat. In the aftermath. Hospital waiting room sterile and silent. Sienna curled into me on plastic chairs. Sobs racking her frame. I almost lost it all. Her confession was a gut punch. The crisis peaking in raw vulnerability. "We rebuild," I whispered. Holding her as dawn broke. The healing journey igniting in that fragile hold. Winter settled over Pasadena like a soft exhalation. The jacaranda trees bare but promising blooms come spring. Mirroring the tentative thaw in our lives. The incident with Mark forced reckonings, restraining orders filed. Therapy mandated. His apologies filtered through lawyers and eventually. A somber family meeting in a neutral cafe off Lake Avenue. Alex mediated. Her resilience a quiet force. Hugging us both with tears that spoke of forgiveness forged in fire. "We're okay," she said. Squeezing Sienna's hand. Then mine. Messy. But real. Sienna sold the main house by December. The proceeds split clean. Funding her gallery expansion and a fresh start in a mid-century modern in Eagle Rock. All clean lines and sun-drenched patios. A space that breathed freedom. I moved in bits of myself gradually, my easel in the sunroom. Sketchbooks on the coffee table. The wildflower sundress hung in her closet beside silk blouses. Our love matured. Less frantic fever. More steady burn. Mornings tangled in Egyptian cotton sheets. Her lips on my temple as coffee brewed. Whispers of dreams over avocado toast. The emotional scars lingered. Though. Surfacing in quiet moments, her flinching at raised voices on the street. Me sketching alone when doubt whispered of impermanence. We navigated with intention. Couples counseling in a sunlit office overlooking the Arroyo Seco. Unpacking betrayals like fragile artifacts. I learned to hide parts of myself, Sienna admitted one session. Voice steady under the therapist's gentle probe. With Mark? With my parents' expectations. But with you? I want whole. And I learned not to chase validation in others, I countered. Hand in hers across the circle of chairs. Your belief helps. But mine has to root deeper. It was humanistic work. Peeling back layers to reveal the universal ache of loving boldly in a world that often shrinks you. My solo show sold out. Collectors drawn to the raw humanity in the fractures. Reviews in the LA Times calling it a poignant meditation on queer resilience. Sienna curated a follow-up at her space. Our collaboration a dance of mutual awe. Her hanging my pieces with reverence. Us christening the exhibit with a private toast. Champagne bubbling as we made love on the gallery floor amid bubble wrap and crates. Laughter mingling with moans. Spring unfurled. And with it? Deeper commitments. Alex graduated with her master's. Us in the front row. Cheering as she walked the stage. Post-ceremony dinner at a rooftop in downtown LA where toasts flowed to futures untethered. Mark attended. Subdued and healing in his own right. A nod across the table acknowledging the new normal. Take care of her, he said to me later. Gruff but genuine. Eyes shadowed with regret. Nights by the new pool. A modest lap installed in the backyard. Became ritual, floating on rafts with wine. Stars wheeling overhead. Conversations drifting to legacies. Sienna spoke of mentoring young queer artists. Expanding the gallery to include workshops for trans youth navigating identity in conservative pockets of the valley. I launched a community printmaking class in Echo Park. Teaching kids from mixed neighborhoods to etch their stories onto linoleum. Watching their eyes light with possibility. The journey wasn't linear, conflicts flared. Small betrayals like forgotten anniversaries or silences after bad days. But we met them head on. Apologies swift. Makeups tender. One June evening. Heat wave pressing heavy. We drove to Big Sur. Her hand on my thigh as Highway 1 wound cliffs to sea. At a secluded cove. Waves crashing like applause. She dropped to one knee on the sand. ring glinting in the sunset. A simple gold band etched with kintsugi cracks. Scarlet. You mended me. Marry me. And let's keep choosing this. Tears blurred the horizon. My yes avow carried on salt wind. We celebrated with a picnic of strawberries and burrata. Making love in the truck bed under blankets. Bodies sinking to the ocean's roar. Climax a symphony of release and renewal. Summer solstice brought the wedding. Small and cinematic. On a bluff in Malibu. Wildflowers in our hair. Alex officiating with humor and heart. Guests a tapestry of our worlds, gallery friends in linen suits. My mom beaming from Sacramento. Even Mark in the back row. Clapping soft. Vows exchanged as gulls wheeled. Mine promising. In your light? Ifin ma boldest strokes, hers. With you? Every crack gleams gold. The reception spilled into bonfire dances. Barefoot on cool sand. Sienna's laughter free as we swayed to indie folk under string lights. Later. In our beach rental. Waves lulling us to sleep. Her head on my chest. I traced her tattoo. A new one inked post-proposal, 2 hands clasped through glass. Mended. Years folded forward. Our life a narrative of quiet triumphs. The gallery thrived. Hosting exhibits on climate-queer intersections. Sienna keynoting at Pride events with stories of late-blooming authenticity. I published a graphic novel. Fractured gazes, illustrations of our arc thinly veiled. Resonating with readers navigating their own twists. Alex built her startup. Us her sounding board over Sunday brunches. Her partner a soft-spoken engineer who fit seamlessly. Aging brought graces, lines etching our eyes from laughter. Sienna's hair threading silver she wore like crowns. My curls deepening to chestnut. We mentored. Traveled. Adopted a rescue mutt named Echo who chased waves at dawn. Conflicts came. Health scares and career dips. But our bond. Tempered in fire. Held. A testament to love's humanistic core, not absence of pain. But presence in it. On our 10th anniversary. Back by that first pool in Pasadena. Now Alex with her family. We sat toes in water. Sunset gilding everything gold. The night took a twist, Sienna murmured. Hand in mine. But it led here. To us, I echoed. Kissing her temple. The lap of water a eternal whisper, whole. Unbroken. Profoundly alive. In the end? Love wasn't a straight line or tidy bow. But a winding coastal road. Cliffs and curves. Vistas of best blue. It taught that betrayal forges strength. Crisis carves space for truth. Healing blooms in vulnerability shared. We chose it daily. 2 women against the world's indifferent tide. Our story a quiet revolution, hearts mended. Lives entwined. Legacies of light passed on.